Hello friends, so this is my world that I created for our group, the Volcano group. So this is my house. I put an M here using glass blocks to signify that it's the main house. So let's go down and check it out. Put some stairs outside here. I feel like it looks beautiful, and some flowers. So let's proceed. Here's some slabs. So let's proceed inside. So here it says, welcome to the Volcano main house and proceed to learn about research methodology. Let's open the doors and enter. So this signpost tells us that our first task is to learn about positivism and to head right. I chose the two philosophies to tackle positivism and interpretivism because I feel like they juxtapose each other. They're two the opposite ends of each other, you know. So that's why I chose to tackle them. So here we'll begin with positivism. So this poster tells us that positivism is a philosophical theory that states that genuine knowledge or knowledge of anything that is not true by definition is exclusively derived from experience of natural phenomena and their properties and relations. Positivism therefore holds that all genuine knowledge is a posteriori knowledge. I am using the onion ring to teach on research methodology. So positivism is a state of being certain of or very confident of something. An example of positivism is a Christian being absolutely certain that there is a God. The quality or state of being positive, certainty, assurance. So I feel like positivism mainly deals with objective reality, like the belief that reality is objective, it cannot be changed. So let's continue, let's head on. So here is a signpost that tells us to head right to continue learning. So that's what we'll do. Here's a poster that, I moved a bit too fast. Okay, so here's a poster that continues our learning on positivism. In positivism studies, the role of the researcher is limited to data collection and interpretation in an objective way, yes, as we said. In these types of studies, research findings are usually observable and quantifiable. Positivism depends on quantifiable observation that leads to statistical analysis. Let's move on. So here's a table and some chairs that I put, and I wanted to put a fireplace here, but I could not figure out how to use those fires in the inventory because they needed some equations I did not know, so I just put a lantern instead, but I still feel like it looks beautiful. Here I put some libraries so that you can access a book and maybe read on positivism if you haven't understood by the end of the session. Here we continue to learn that positivists prefer quantitative methods such as social surveys, structured questionnaires, and official statistics because they have good reliability and representativeness. Positivists see society as shaping the individual and believe that social facts shape individual action. Let's head on. The positivist tradition stresses the importance of doing quantitative research, such as large-scale surveys, in order to get an overview of society as a whole and to uncover social trends, such as the relationship between educational achievement and social class. This type of sociology is more interested in trends and patterns rather than individuals. So down here, there's a signpost that tells us that we should follow the clues to see our next task. Okay, so let's move on. I see that there's another poster here that continues to teach us about positivism. Positivists also believe that sociology can and should use the same methods and approaches to study the social world that natural sciences such as biology and physics use to investigate the physical world. By adopting scientific techniques, sociologists should be able eventually to uncover the laws that govern societies, such as scientists have discovered the laws that govern the physical world. In positivist research, sociologists tend to look for relationship or correlations between two or more variables. This is known as the comparative method. So let's move on. There's a post here that tells us that we have completed our learning on positivism, so that we should continue to room B to learn about interpretivism, and that this is the route that we must follow. Let's move on. Well, there's another post here that tells us that this is the way to room B. There's a few paintings here, which I feel like they add to like the general beauty of the place. This is another sign that tells us that this is the way to room B. So let's enter, open this door and enter. There's a sign post here that tells us that this is the way to room B. We're in the right direction. There's a few paintings. I feel that it makes the place looks beautiful. There's a lantern that I put here. Okay. This tells us that this, okay, it reads, welcome to room B, where you will learn everything about interpretivism. So let's move on and learn about interpretivism. There's a post here that tells us that we should begin here and continue to our right. Okay, so let's see what is interpretivism. Interpretivism involves researchers interpreting elements of the study. Thus, interpretivism integrates human interest into a study. According to the interpretivist approach, it is important for the researcher as a social actor to appreciate differences between people. So this is a more subjective outlook towards things or reality. Towards your research object. An interpretivist view is more based on the researcher and how based on people and how different people interpret their different realities. It's not as objective or as what's the word for it? Not changeable. I forget the word for it for the positivist approach. So this is the juxtaposition of positivism. Wait, I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong. Okay, let's continue. So there's a post here that tells us to keep going, that we are doing great. Okay, that's awesome. So this poster tells us that interpretivists or anti-positivists argue that individuals are not just puppets who react to external social forces, as positivists believe. According to interpretivists, individuals are intricate and complex, and different people experience and understand the same objective reality in very different ways and have their own, often very different reasons for acting in the world. Thus, scientific methods are not appropriate. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's continue. Okay. There's another poster here that continues to teach us more. Interpretivist research methods derived from social action theory. Interpretivists actually criticize scientific sociology or positivism because many of the statistics it relies on are themselves socially constructed. So the argument here is even the statistics that are used by positivists are socially constructed. So they would require an interpretivist approach to them. So it not kind of nullifies the whole, or in their eyes or in their own interpretation, it nullifies the positivist argument. Interpretivists argue that in order to understand human actions, we need to achieve Verstehen or empathetic understanding. We need to see the world through the eyes of the actors doing the acting. We shouldn't be very rigid. That's the word I was looking for. The positivist approach is a bit rigid. So this signpost tells us that congrats, you have completed your learning on interpretivism. I think this marks the end of our study session on interpretivism. So this tells us that we should head on to the basement for further learning, and to the basement we shall go. But first, let's overview this room. I feel like it looks very beautiful. I feel like I did a good job here with the glue blocks and everything, and the flower here. So let's continue. So this post tells us that this is the basement, and we shall open the trapdoor to access the basement, and that is what we shall do. So let's move on inside. There's a poster here that tells us that here we will compare the two research methodologies. So here in the basement, we're going to compare the research methodologies or approaches, the philosophies that we've already learned, interpretivism and positivism, and let's compare the two. So this poster here says that positivism claims that knowledge is based on certain and natural phenomena. Truth or knowledge can be collected using sensory experience by humans or machines. Then people discover or form new knowledge by logical interpretations. Excuse me. Science is a cumulative transcultural measurable description of nature. Positivism is based on empiricism, facts that are received from observation. So this one is a more scientific approach. So to juxtapose it, we have anti-positivism, which is interpretivism, and it proposes that the social realm cannot be studied with the scientific method of investigation applied to the natural world. Investigation of the social realm requires a different epistemology from that philosophical perspective. Anti-positivism proposes that social science researchers first must be aware that the concepts, ideas, and language of research shape his or her perception of the social world under investigation. Oh, sorry. Let's go down and proceed forward to continue learning. So keep moving forward to learn more, okay? That's what we will do. So this poster here says that in positivism, the person or the researcher and reality are separate, while in interpretivism, the researcher and the reality are inseparable. In positivism, the research object has inherent qualities that exist independent of the researcher, while in interpretivism, the research object is interpreted in light of meaning, structure of the person's or the researcher's lived experience. So interpretivism is a bit, so as we said, it cannot be separated from the researcher. The person's lived experiences are their research object, while in the positivist approach, the researcher and the research object are separate. Well, let's continue. Continue to your right, okay. So this tells us that the measure of validity in a positivist approach is certain. Data truly measures reality while in an interpretivist approach, defensible knowledge claims. So as we said, the positivist approach is more rigid, it's more certain, it's less subject to change. But in an interpretivist approach, the knowledge can be defended, or it's not rigid. Yeah. So here are a few things I did. I put a lot of lanterns and lights in the basement because it was dark. Yeah, I feel like it's a nice kind of place. It looks nice. I feel like continue this way to head out. So this is our way out. Oh, here there's another poster that tells us that this marks the end of our learning. So I guess this is the last poster, or the last, this is called a poster and this one is called a signpost. Okay, so this is the last poster. In conclusion, approaches to methods of research may be deductive or inductive. Different strategies could be applied, such as case studies and surveys, mono methods, mixed methods, and multi methods. There are also various strategies that could be applied in this research methodology. And this concludes our study session. Okay, so let's continue. So this signpost tells us that we have completed our learning and that this is the way out. So let's get out of the basement. Let's climb the stairs and fly up. Ooh, okay. Let's close the chapters. Yes, so let's continue. There's a signpost here that tells us, congratulations, head on upstairs for a much deserved break. We do deserve a break after all that we have learned, so let's move on upstairs. Let's close this door. This way upstairs, okay. This is a few paintings to make the corridor beautiful, which it is. Let's open the door and continue. This signpost tells us that this is the way upstairs. Let's climb the stairs. And whoa, here's a beautiful place for just chilling and after a long day of reading about research methodology. So I put a few chairs here, and I put a few chairs here for resting, and a bed. I love the windows. I feel like it makes the place airy. I put a lot of light to make it like a good mood for when you want to relax.